Morning, and thank you very, very much for being with us. These are sort of very dynamic times. Yesterday was yesterday. The protest action started. I suppose one thing that marked it out was I don't know, the exemplary, shall I say, if that is the word to use, of exemplary conduct of the police. Where we could see the Nigeria police in a way that we hadn't really been seeing them. That is to say, they were engaging, and they were engaging with the public, with the protesters, providing protection for them and for other people. And so that probably did a lot towards quelling as much as possible the situation. That is not to say that it didn't go south in some areas, but even then, I guess it's a lot better than it might have been. Okay, so here we are today. There were a number of pictures that were coming out, especially from up north, that might have been a bit surprising. You begin to wonder, what exactly is the orientation of these people? What's going on here? There are things you just couldn't imagine. If it was a protest about hunger and the like, then we saw some images, a statue being attacked, we saw traffic lights being attacked, but all of that is the way it is. The police that seemed to be in a very conciliatory mood, by the time the Inspector General of Police was speaking, had said that, look, excuse me, please, we will not let this happen again. But we're happy that some of the visuals that you've been seeing since this morning have shown something of a sort of a re-engagement with both fulfilling the what is it now? The fundamental, the constitutionally guaranteed rights of those who want to protest, and at the same time, this time protesters are actually at the Ganifa Park here and the Peace Park, making room for traffic, for there to be a free flow of traffic. Okay, that's the Inspector General of Police from yesterday. Is there? Let's take some sound. Let's take some sound from the Inspector General of Police.
Based on actionable intelligence at our disposal, indicating that some groups were mobilizing for violent protest, while some groups claiming to be mobilizing for peaceful protest were doing so with violent undertones, refusing to cooperate with the police on measures to be taken to guarantee peaceful protest. On the basis of this intelligence, the police advised that the protest to be shelved at this instant. Where the organizers insisted on going on with the protest, they were advised to stage the protest in confined locations. This will have enabled the police provide adequate protection for the protesters and isolate the criminals whose intention was to loot and destroy in the name of a protest. This we were doing in furtherance of our duty to protect lives and property and maintaining law and order. While we affirm the constitutional rights of citizens to assemble and express their views on issues of national importance, we were wary about the dangers posed by agitation instigated by some individuals who have shown tendencies to be disloyal to the government of the day. Despite our suspicions, we showed good faith through professional conduct by providing security at strategic locations, all aimed at ensuring peaceful conduct during the protest.
Okay, then. So, Inspector General of Police there from his broadcast yesterday. Well, our guest this morning is Honorable Lanre Onilu. He's the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. And so we're so happy to be able to speak to him in his office in Abuja. Good morning, Honorable Onilu.
Good morning, Mr. Fulani. Good morning, the viewers.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, as you know from our caption, the protest, which is what a lot of well-meaning people have been, cautioning about, and the police cautioned about, the hijacked protest, because what else could it be if it went the way it did in some areas, not all over the country. And so, of course, there's going to be a period of national healing now. So could I just first of all take your general overview on happenings yesterday? Nigerians were seen on the streets, some of them you saw in a particular light, They were for the protest. Some Nigerians, some states didn't even want to take part in the protest and didn't do so. And yet there were some that perhaps went a bit beyond the pale in the way they were conducting themselves, and were recorded on camera. So what can you say about the orientation of Nigerians as we went through that protest yesterday?
Yeah, well, there were no surprises at all. You could see that for more than a month, all well-meaning Nigerians have said this was going to happen. There are no new lessons to learn. We have learned enough lessons by what has happened over the years. Most recently, we were here in 2020 during the EndSARS. So we knew this would happen, and that was why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, government officials, religious leaders, traditional leaders, market women leaders, youth leaders, all well-meaning Nigerians rose to say in one voice, please let us avoid this situation, because we knew this was going to happen. And the reasons are obvious. One, we had experience. And experience is the best teacher, so we should have learned from that. Secondly, I can tell you, as somebody who sits at the helms of affairs of the National Orientation Agency, for nearly 3 decades, this country and parents have vacated their roles in the lives of our children. And the kind of citizen that we have today are the citizens that we have produced by ourselves. Because there have not been any orientation, deliberate orientation of Nigerians. We do not have a national identity. We do not have national value system. And we do not have institutions of nurturing citizens. So these are all there. And in the last 1 year, this is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has focused on. See, you cannot build Nigeria if you do not build Nigerians. There are no two ways about it. So in the last, even since independence, all efforts have been geared towards building the country, without any recognition of the need to build the citizens.
Okay, I get you.
See, the Yoruba have a saying. They say that the mansion that you built will be destroyed by the child you did not build. So this is the time for us to now pay attention to the need to build our people and nurture us on values.
So you know, I hear what you're saying, but there are times when Nigeria and when Nigerians come together, whatever their particular cut of the Nigerian persona. And by that, of course, you know that I'm talking here about sports. We don't see this, for example. It doesn't matter. Everybody claims a part of being a Nigerian. And so is that sort of a natural, is it like based on our genes that everybody pulls together when it becomes Nigeria at any competitive international event? You see us, we go out of the country, we excel when we go to the world, but it's, maybe this is where people have been speaking about a lack of orientation, and you've just put it smack on the doorsteps of the parents of people who are not giving, are kids being left to their own devices? But even if that is so, how is it that in some instances, nobody's going to destroy anything Nigerian? They will not allow an outsider to come into the trip that they are on about, I'm a Nigerian and this is my fellow Nigerian. What exactly do you think is the psychology going on there?
Yeah, see, when you have sports and you see that demonstration of patriotism, it shows that in every typical human being, the ability for good and for evil is present. It's up to the country to now harness the positives. You know, so that's where we have been failing over the last 3 decades. And that is the focus of this new administration. Sport is one of such institutions of nurturing people on patriotism. But in the last 30 years, how much investment have we made in sports into that particular industry? So there must be deliberate effort to institutionalize the process of nurturing the citizens.
Okay.
And I'm not just talking about the parents. Equally, the government in the last 3 decades we have not done enough. In fact, we don't even have a concrete policy on national identity. And that's what this government has put in place. I'm happy to inform Nigerians that the president will soon unveil the National Identity Project, which is going to address all of these issues.
This is where what you've just spoken about, Honorable Larry Onilu, is where people, and this is where you can enlighten us a bit, when people, sometimes when things get to this pass, in much earlier conversations about our national life, people say, NOA, the National Orientation Agency, what are they doing? They are the people that are charged with, well, is it the role of the National Orientation Agency to be a surrogate parent, perhaps, of all Nigerians? Because it always comes up that if the National Orientation Agency was all that it could be, then people will be better informed, and some really ridiculous pictures that we saw from the protests, if those were really protests. Those weren't protests, but you know what I mean. People scaling poles and attacking traffic lights and attacking statues and trying to pull down. There are people whose orientation seems to be that if there's a protest, they think of it as going out there and causing damage. Of course, not all Nigerians are like that, and that was evident from place to place. How does the National Orientation, or what have been the limitations of the National Orientation Agency in achieving this?
Well, you see, before I became the Director General of this agency, I share the same opinion, just like every other Nigerian, that NOA is just one redundant agency that is not up to anything. So, but when I got here, I found out that the issues are beyond the agency itself. In the last 2.5 decades, the agency has completely been abandoned, by successive government. And so, thank God, we have a new government. We have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who even during campaign was hammering on the essence of unity, of patriotism, of togetherness. You recall that several times he spoke to the fact that we are all members of the same family, in the same building, all beds in different rooms. So we have shared identity, shared characteristics, and shared destiny. So now we have put policy in place. We have the National Identity Project that the President will unveil. And let me say clearly that I'm not saying there have not been past efforts, but the efforts were not that deliberate. And there was no deliberate investment in nurturing Nigerians on values. So we have today, the youth that we have produced is what we are seeing now. So they are also victims. So both parents and government, as I said, vacated their roles completely in the last 3 decades. So, but I can assure you that in another 1 year, we will have a definitive statement, a kind of journey towards building a nation where people will be conscious of what it means to be a Nigerian. Mr. Falani, today, if I accuse you and I say you are not a good Nigerian, what exactly am I talking about? Well, the man Nigerian has not been defined. The woman Nigerian has not been defined. The youth Nigerian has not been defined. And every country must be unique. The citizens must be unique you must have your identities, you must have your value system, and you must create institutions to nurture citizens on those values. And that is the way to isolate those who are going to be defiant to the social order. So this we have not done in this country. But in the last 8 months, all these have been put in place. There is a complete turnaround in NOA, because the system that has been put in place under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is supportive of this particular journey. So, but I'm sure we'll get there,
And,
thank you very much.
Yes, you see, we're talking about national healing. We're talking about the hijacked protest and national healing. There were some very, very unwholesome aspects, statements that were put out there. In fact, there were attitudes that are the very last kind of attitude that we want in Nigeria. Some Nigerians saying that we are not involved, we're not going to be part of it, and the reasons they were given, it harks to what some people have pointed out, that one should be very, very careful. We are all, as it were, a one. And some of the sentiments that were coming out have nothing to do with a protest. Everybody is hungry, if we want to go with that idiom. Everybody is hungry. But to now go beyond that and be talking in a separatist kind of a way, I guess there's much work to be done, as you have indicated, as we go towards healing, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, you need see the issue of hunger. We must also define the hunger. You see, there's that kind of hunger that comes as a result of lack of effort. There's that hunger that comes as a result of effort being made to right the wrong. We all know that this country was messed up over the last 3 decades. And I cannot, from independence, see any administration that within 1 year has done as much as this government has done. This is something that we can all open a debate and compare. We can have a comparative analysis of all the government. First year, some fundamental decisions have been made to ensure that we have a solid foundation, to have a country that we can all be proud of. I mean, if we begin to talk about the basic challenge Nigerians are facing, it's about purchasing power. It's about out-of-pocket expenses, that you have to go and look for huge money to pay rent, huge money to pay for your children's school fees, huge money to pay for medical expenses, for shelter, for all of this. These are the real cost burden. But within 1 year, you have student loan. Even in the best of the country across the world, student loan is one solid policy to address cost burden. So now you know that Nigerian students don't have to bother about where they're going to get money to pay their school fees. Yeah. The parents don't have to worry about that. So whatever resources they have, they can channel it towards some other things. You have the consumer credit scheme that makes sure that you don't have to go and look for 3 million, 5 million, 10 million to buy a car. When you need to have a car, you can have a car without having all that money. If you need to rent a house, you can do that through consumer credit scheme. You can have your appliances, you can have, basic things of life. And that's how you bring back the middle, the middle class. So because we don't have a middle class, and we don't have a middle class because people need to do a lot to be able to afford the basic things of life. But now you don't need to do that anymore. You need just to apply through the consumer credit scheme, and then you are able to live a good life.
Indeed.
As you speak,
such a lot is being done.
10 billion naira has been put together under the Ministry of Youth, targeting the youth population for them to apply and get resources to do businesses.
And
so
that
people
exactly,
they don't have to depend on looking for a job and all of this. And the biggest thing that has happened in this country in the last, let me say, 3 decades, since the collapse of the local government administration, is the local government autonomy. Now you have activated 774 governments in this country. You have activated it. So what happens now in the next 1 year is that you will see a lot of activities going on, in the grassroots.
Indeed.
And so each local government cannot take control, do the basic things for their people. The issue of security is more of a local environment issue. Local government can take care of their own environment. And this is how we are going to bring down all these challenges. Agriculture, local government can do a lot. We know in the early 80s, in the late 70s, how local governments were providing tractors to farmers in their local government to do their farming. How pesticide, insecticide, fertilizers were provided by local government. You now have federal government going to build borehole. That's local government responsibility. You know, of 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers. This can be done by local government.
You're so right.
That creates access for a lot of activities, economic activities to pick up.
Okay, Honorable.
And in the next 1-2 years, you're going to have, quality people going down to local government to contest for elections, so that they can do the right thing for their people.
So these are the things that have been done and are being done, and indeed, in some cases, they're well in place, that somehow didn't get effectively communicated. Because the whole purpose of a protest is that we want to bring to your attention certain things that it might be thought the government doesn't know about, or is not, taking care of, or is not addressing. But the point has been made that much, you were just narrating some of those things, have already been done, and it continue to be done. And that is the sense in which it was being said at the time. I think the Federal Executive Council was saying that there really is no need for this protest, but for the right of every Nigerian to free assembly and freedom of speech, there really is no need, because all of these issues are known and are being addressed. But we sort of yielded to the fact that, fine, let it be. If we're going to have this protest, then we shall have to structure it such that you have your rights and we have the ability to do what we're here for, which is maintain the peace in the land.